The air was thick that morning in Lamu, Kenya. Not with heat, though the equator pressed down like a weight, but with something invisible. Something wrong. It started with a sound, the distant hum of jet engines, low and mechanical, creeping across the morning haze. A few fishermen looked up from their boats, confused. The plane was too small for a commercial flight, but too fast for anything local. And then it was gone. No one knew it yet, but that hum was the start of something. A clue. The kind of clue that only makes sense after everything else has fallen apart. 2 weeks later, a journalist named Daniel Kamau went missing in Nairobi. He wasn't famous, not globally. But he was respected, known in East Africa for chasing powerful ghosts. He wasn't the kind of man to run away. He wasn't the kind of man to be silenced easily. But Daniel had started digging into something even he didn't fully understand. And then, just like the sound of that jet, he vanished. His apartment was untouched. No sign of a struggle. His laptop, gone. His backup drives, gone. CCTV footage, conveniently erased from the cloud. The police opened an investigation, closed it a week later, and quietly moved on. But something stuck. The details were too clean. The disappearance too perfect. And the timing, it matched a pattern. Because Daniel wasn't the first. In the previous 6 months, over 30 individuals across East Africa had simply disappeared. Journalists, aid workers, suspected insurgents, students, truck drivers, even a US contractor. No one linked the cases at first. Different countries, different circumstances. But Daniel had started to see the outline. The shape in the fog. It began with planes. Small, unmarked jets landing at obscure airstrips in Uganda, Kenya, Somalia. They filed no flight plans. Their transponders blinked in and out. Some used US military call signs. Others flew dark, their origins masked by spoofed metadata. They would land, stay no more than a few hours, then leave again, without refueling, without customs, without explanation. In one case, a jet landed on an abandoned airstrip in northern Kenya. Locals said they saw armed men, not Kenyan, not African, unload sealed crates into a convoy of matte black SUVs. The airstrip was bulldozed the next day. This would be strange anywhere. But in East Africa, it was something more. It was familiar. Because 20 years ago, after September 11th, the CIA launched a program that operated in the shadows, black sites. Hidden prisons scattered across the globe. Places where suspects were detained, interrogated, and, in some cases, tortured, all outside the reach of US law. Some of those prisons had been in Africa. Secret bases in Djibouti, Somalia, Sudan. But the program was disbanded, or so they said. Officially, the US government no longer runs black sites. Officially, they ended in 2009. But the ghosts never left. Daniel had begun collecting flight data. He cross-referenced disappearances with landings. He found connections, a pattern no one else had noticed or dared to publish. And he'd received something else too. A USB drive, sent anonymously. Encrypted. Inside, internal memos, supply manifests, base blueprints, aerial images, and contractor invoices from a shell company based in Delaware. The documents called them G9 facilities. Mobile, modular, soundproof, power-independent detainment units. No need for permanent buildings. No permanent evidence. The files showed construction and teardown dates. The facilities would appear in Somalia, stay for 48 hours, then vanish. Others in South Sudan. Northern Uganda. Always rural. Always near a landing strip. Always guarded. One memo included a chilling phrase, pre-legal holding acceptable for up to 10 days. After 10 days, rotate subject or clear. That meant no charges. No records. Just time. Time to extract whatever they needed, however they needed it. What disturbed Daniel most wasn't just the logistics, it was how easy it was to hide. In places already suffering from instability, corruption, and silence, no one asked questions. And when they did, they weren't answered. In Somalia, a herdsman described soldiers escorting a blindfolded man from a chopper to a prefab container. It stood for 2 nights. Then it was gone. His goats wouldn't graze thereafter. The earth changed, he said. It wasn't right. In South Sudan, 2 humanitarian workers vanished on the road to a remote medical camp. Their vehicle was found 90 kilometers away, engine running, doors open. No blood. No bodies. But tire tracks indicated another vehicle had intercepted them, and left no tracks returning. A drone operator stationed in Djibouti leaked satellite images to a journalist collective. One photo showed a temporary camp, fencing, modular housing, generator trucks. Another showed the same site 3 days later, nothing remained but scorched soil. The images were verified. The locations matched the flight logs. And the dots were connecting faster than anyone wanted. That's when Daniel disappeared. His last known contact was with a whistleblower who called himself Echo. A former logistics technician for Rendition Logistics Incorporated, a CIA front company. Echo had worked on what he called autonomous field detention modules, units designed to hold individuals with no legal footprint. He claimed the G9 facilities had been reactivated in mid-2023 following secret authorizations buried inside Department of Defense emergency protocols. The justification? Escalating terror threats, failed states, and intelligence gaps in Africa. But none of it had gone through Congress. Not even the Intelligence Oversight Committee had full access. According to Echo, the new program was decentralized. Contractors ran the infrastructure. Intelligence agents handled interrogation. Local governments were paid to look the other way, or not informed at all. When asked what happened to the detainees, Echo said only this: they go in. They don't come out. That's the system. Human rights organizations tried to follow up. But every trail led to a wall. Witnesses disappeared. Files were erased. Servers went dark. NGOs received polite denials from the US Embassy, followed by cyber attacks traced to unknown origins. In Mogadishu, a lawyer representing a missing student activist was killed in a staged car crash. In Nairobi, a tech worker who tried to track the jet flight paths was detained by security forces and deported to an unknown location. His family hasn't heard from him since. By mid-2024, the number of confirmed disappearances had risen to 54. Unconfirmed cases? Hundreds. Maybe more. One jet, tail number N589RS, appeared repeatedly. Originally registered to a pharmaceutical company, it had changed ownership 4 times in 3 years. It flew only at night. Its refueling stops were off-record. Its cargo was never declared. Satellite footage captured it landing in Manda Bay, Kenya, just miles from a classified US training site. It stayed 72 minutes. Then it vanished across the Indian Ocean. A retired military officer confirmed that this particular jet had been used during the original rendition program in 2004. Same plane. Same mission, he said. Just updated for today's world. And it's not just foreign nationals. An American named Jordan Vexley, a defense contractor, was last seen at an airport in Addis Ababa. He was scheduled to speak at a security conference. He never boarded his flight. Ethiopian authorities claim he left the country. His family says he never arrived home. A month later, his bank accounts were frozen. His phone disconnected. And one of his colleagues reported seeing him, briefly, through a fence at a desert facility outside Kismayo. He was wearing a gray jumpsuit. His head was shaved. And he was screaming. But no one can confirm it. No one wants to. The governments involved maintain plausible deniability. The U.S. State Department insists that all operations abroad comply with international law. Kenyan, Somali, and Ugandan officials issue brief statements, then say nothing else. And the world keeps spinning. Because the truth is difficult. Because it's easier not to ask. Because when things are buried in the dark, no one feels the dirt on their hands. But somewhere out there, people are locked in soundproof rooms. In containers disguised as aid units. In trucks disguised as weather labs. In airstrips that vanish before satellite updates. Their names erased. Their stories cut short. And what's most terrifying isn't just that this is happening. It's how good they've become at making us forget it ever did. But we don't forget. Because Daniel Kamau's notebook was eventually found. Hidden inside a book at a used shop in Mombasa. Torn pages. Smudged ink. But legible enough to read what he wrote, again and again, on the final page. They said no one would believe me. They said no one would believe me. They said no one would believe me. We do, Daniel. We believe you.